Sandra.
Hi, Carey.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's really good to see you.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for coming on here and chatting with us. Um, I just saw a note that there's a huge Facebook outage and I'm not
Yeah,
able to get in. So,
yeah, me too. I was like, oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to do this call. And I don't post regularly, but then I was like, I can't get in. What's going on? Yeah,
I know, weird, right? I was like, oh no, I've been hacked. And then I got an email. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, at least
yeah,
it's not that.
yeah.
But anyway, we'll go ahead because people can still enjoy the replay and the podcast. So, yeah. So why don't if you don't mind, if you want to start us off by just sharing what you do and maybe your journey of how you came to do this work.
Sure. Um, So I have recently pivoted in my business, and I am now supporting moms who have high needs children, especially those struggling with mental health and related physical ailments, and supporting them through a dietary protocol that can dissolve symptoms.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah. And it's something um, that I've wanted to do for a long time since about 8 years ago. I I became a full-time food um, investigator in my own family.
Really?
And yeah, and um, I have a child who was struggling intensely um, with symptoms that just did not make sense.
Mm.
Um, at first, I thought, oh, these tantrums are just really intense. Like maybe this is what everyone goes through. But as time went on, the symptoms were so extreme that I realized this is not ordinary tantrums. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, there were like violent rage episodes, sleep disturbances, screaming in the night,
Mm.
um,
What age
itchy.
range are we talking here?
Um, my child was about 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
that's
and then
tough.
there were other symptoms like itchy skin and headaches, stomach aches.
Mm.
Um, and the doctors really didn't know, they really had no support to offer. Um, we also have many food allergies and environmental allergies. So the real support was simply, take the Benadryl or they didn't help. I mean, we saw many different types of doctors too, and if my child presented as not in an episode in the moment of at the doctor's appointment, they didn't really believe that there was something wrong.
Oh, that's terrible.
It was tough. It was
Yeah.
a very tough time. I definitely hit a low point where I was just a mess and no one really knew what was going on because I didn't even have the vocabulary to describe it. And yeah, it was from there that I realized I really need support.
Mm.
And I found a parenting mentor who I thought, maybe because as a mom and as our conditioning in this society, we often think it's my fault or
Right.
my parenting is must be screwed up. And there definitely was some work to do there, but that also she helped me see that um, there can be other kinds that aren't food allergies, but food sensitivities that cause delayed reactions. And I was able to keep a food journal and discover which foods were triggering these reactions.
Good
Um,
for you. I
thank you.
really love these stories of like of women and mothers who just get to this point of reclaiming
Mhm.
agency over their health, and their family's health and just being, just stepping up into, whether when they're not receiving the support from the doctor, from the medical industry, just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to figure this out because I'm really
Mhm.
motivated. I need my family to be healthy.
Yeah,
I really celebrate you for doing that.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I left my job because I said I have to get to the bottom of this. Like we can't keep going this way. So it really became like a full-time, I'm gonna find
Wow.
out everything I can, read as many books as I can. I started attending like these organic farmer association annual conferences to just like immerse myself in understanding how can our food system cause such severe mental health reactions. Yeah.
Wow. And what did you start to uncover with was it a specific type of food? Was it a preservative type of situation, chemicals or
Yeah, I mean, I learned that in big ag, there are a lot of chemicals being used to treat um, basic grains, especially that are sprayed with chemicals before harvesting, for example. There's like a handful of grains and vegetables that are sprayed, legumes. Um, so I know that what I discovered is that we have this chemical body burden, and not all of our bodies can detox and remove all of these burdens. And yeah, some of us are more sensitive
yeah.
than others. So, I mean, especially gluten was a problem for us, and dairy also. Um, and yeah, they created these like morphine-like effects in my children.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, we did this additional testing that shows we didn't have the peptides to or the right enzymes to digest them, and they do create this morphine-like effect where um, my kids will not eat regular food once they start getting into a rhythm of eating the gluten and dairy. That's the only thing they crave. And
Eh,
yeah, it creates a cascade and snowballing effect of other symptoms.
wow. Does it feel a little bit like when you're discussing, when you're sharing about this, like you don't almost want to scare people because
Hmm.
it does feel like, oh my God, this could be um as a big rabbit hole to uncover. And if people aren't aware,
Mhm.
do you feel a little bit like trepidatious about introducing this knowledge?
I mean, I think I had for a long time. I felt like it's not my place to educate others, and like if they're not having the symptoms or their child aren't isn't having the symptoms, why would they even care to know? Um, but it was, I think, by being introduced to finding psychologists and doctors who were finding the same thing and finding that adults with bipolar, adults with anxiety and depression, um, on a large scale have been treated with diet, that I felt this validation and legitimacy over what I discovered in my child. And then realizing that there's all these families out there who are, I'm sure, struggling
Hmm.
with similar episodes and reactions in their kids' bodies, and they aren't getting the information. And that's not right. So I want to be a voice and a resource for people who are having that struggle. Maybe their child may have been put on medication. And this protocol that I found in working with a holistic psychiatrist does work to get people off medication using diet and lifestyle medicine. So I feel like it's a very empowering tool. And because I've been doing it, eating this way and grocery shopping and finding which products work for both allergies and these sensitivities, that I want to make it easy for people.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so good.
Mm,
Yes, definitely want to expose this information and not keep it suppressed, which I'm sure it has been, right?
mhm.
Because profit, capitalism.
Exactly.
Um, so what does your diet look like now? What does your family diet look like?
Mm.
You don't have to get too specific, but
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I'm a mother of three, and all three of my children have many allergies and different allergies.
Mm,
So I have to really find, what works for all of us, and then supplement with different things here and there. But my kids do bring lunch to school every day. Um, and yeah, we try to eat as many whole foods as possible. That's kind of the focus.
okay.
Um, and we eat meat. Um, we Yeah, I just try I also am an anti-perfectionist, and I know that sometimes people get really, really into, like, I have to eat clean 100%. Um, and that can definitely be a turnoff for people too. But at some point during the beginning, I was more hyper vigilant. Um, but as time has gone on, I've learned, how do I find that fine balance of convenience and also a mental health supporting diet. So,
Okay.
um,
So
yeah,
are the kids
mhm,
still eating like gluten and dairy, or is it
right.
completely off the table?
So we are gluten free and dairy free for the most part. My husband does eat gluten and dairy, and he is more resistant to limiting their diet, and he's more aware of the social impact of feeling excluded, of he brings in this other perspective to help us have a holistic perspective. And occasionally, what I do is I try to make alternatives if they're going to a birthday party um, or family outing. I cook alternatives so that we are included and can participate. Um, and at times we will occasionally have gluten or dairy, and then have some enzymes to help our bodies digest. So it's a balance. It depends. We
Hmm.
we see that we can have it once in a while and not have a reaction. But if it gets into a pattern where there's birthday after birthday after birthday, um, we just can't go on like that, or symptoms do start to resurface.
That makes sense.
But interestingly, we recently were traveling in Africa, and the wheat is processed differently there. So we did an
Oh,
experiment, and the kids did okay eating much more abundant gluten and even some dairy while we were there.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a brand here in the States. I think they might be based in Massachusetts, and I'm forgetting the exact name of it. It's like One Good Mill or One Great Mill or something like that. That's not it, but it's One Something Mill. And they mill their own wheat,
Mm,
and they make bagels and bread and other things. And they're more digestible. And there's a
mhm,
whole story on the back about why that is,
mhm,
because commercial milling practices, do something bad to the gluten, to the grain.
mhm.
Anyway, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but maybe it's
I
similar to
I've seen
pastime.
a few brands starting to have those items. So we did recently try one out, and the kids seemed okay. So yeah,
Good.
there is some hope in that realm. But then there's also the fact that um, like the lining of the intestine have these things called villi, and
Uh,
they get damaged over long-term eating
Okay.
of gluten.
Okay.
So, and then the barrier, the leaky gut barrier is exposed. So
Mm,
I still want to be cautious.
yeah.
Yeah.
Might be better just to avoid it. Mostly anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like we're missing out. I feel like there are so many alternatives, and
Mm,
like eating less processed food. And what I found through this protocol, especially when I did it recently, is our taste buds can become more refined and enjoy basic, simple foods once we get off those addictive, overly processed foods. And it's really enjoyable to have that refinement to be able to really enjoy, honey in your tea or whatever it may be.
I've
Yeah.
experienced that when I've done the Whole 30.
Yes.
So off sugar
Mhm.
and all whole foods for 30 days. And like the fruit, a few weeks in, the fruit tastes so sweet, like
Mhm.
so spectacular. And
Mhm.
it's just because you're no longer used to eating processed sugar
Yeah.
in all the different ways that that comes into the diet,
Mhm.
even if you're not eating candy, like it's in so many things, salad dressing and
Yeah.
sauce and things like that, where you don't even think about it. But if you're intentionally off of it, like natural sugar tastes amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That that makes me curious too about your experience, because I know we're on similar paths of feminine reclamation. And I found that once I changed my diet, my intuitive sense improved, and like my connection to being able to sense and feel energy in my body and feel my hormones, I think it is like feel the swirling of energy, and those signals that are coming from our gut or coming from our knowing.
Mm,
become clearer. So I just wanted to ask if you've done the whole 30, did you also find that to be true?
I did. I did. Definitely. I mean, especially with letting go of alcohol and I think gluten and dairy, yeah, like sugar. And even these days, like if I, I mostly avoid bread and
Mhm,
things, but I'm not too strict about it. So once in a while I'll have a sandwich or something or piece of pizza. But I notice if I do, and like you said, if it's not, even just a one-off thing, if I have bread like a few days in a row, I
mhm,
definitely notice my energy kind of feeling
mhm,
dampened and my clarity, my intuition sort of like being, yeah, just less clear and less,
mhm,
the energy kind of goes, my vibrate, it's not like my vibration goes down, right? So it's like, and it's
mm,
noticeable. So that's one of the reasons I don't
mhm,
indulge in bread every day because I feel like that my energy feels it so quickly. My whole body sort of like, and it's subtle. It's not like an
mhm,
allergic reaction. It's just, how I feel
mhm,
energetically, definitely. And same with, anything heavy,
mhm,
or like cheese. I love cheese, but
mhm,
it definitely weighs me down
mm,
energetically.
mhm,
And it's hard to process, a little bit hard to digest, if you
mhm.
have too much of it.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just I sort of try to steer clear for the most part.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so interesting how our guts and our brains are so intricately connected.
Yeah, well, even how you say listen to your gut, right? I just kind of realized that it's
Mhm.
when you said that literally your gut
Yeah,
is where some, your intuition, your clarity can come from
right.
or
Yeah.
not come from if you're eating a lot of heavy
Yeah.
processed food.
Yeah. I found when I went off gluten because of the kids, then when I went to eat some, I noticed I got brain fog. And
Right.
I would feel actually hungover. Um, I realized, oh, I'm sensitive to this too. And I feel so much better not eating it. Yeah. Um, and I know some people say, well, don't not eat gluten if you haven't tested positive for celiac or um, like putting so much reliance on these external sources of approval. And I feel like
Yeah.
it makes sense to me that more and more people are eating gluten free because they know it feels better for them. Um,
Listening to their own bodies, right?
right.
Instead of waiting for a doctor's
Hmm.
order.
Yeah.
And so with your family, your children, have the symptoms eased up? Have they been,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, we can be completely symptom free when we're not eating triggering foods. So
wow.
um
Wow. And
it's
that's
night and day. Like my kids are so healthy now and they're so active and they do all of these sports and um
yay. That's awesome.
it's like it feels like a lifetime ago that we were in that state where we couldn't make plans. I mean, to get out of the house was so hard. Getting to school was so hard. Um,
Wow. Wow. And all of that because of food, what they were eating. And
yeah,
it's just like, that is so awesome. That is such a huge win. And it's like, why aren't more doctors bringing that up right away?
right.
When we go to them and
Mhm.
these symptoms, and why aren't they looking at our diet or at our kids' diet first and foremost? It's such the like foundation of health.
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
kind of frustrating.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm thinking of my husband too. He had a heart arrhythmia and he went to a cardiologist. And of course, the first suggestion was we need to get you on these 4 drugs that you're going to
Mhm.
take daily for the rest of your life. Didn't even ask about diet or make any suggestions around that. But fortunately, my husband took initiative to change his diet and he
Mhm.
did research on his own, like you did, and he quit drinking and he's, eating an amazingly healthy diet of like vegetables and protein, and that's pretty much it. And
Mhm.
lost all this weight and got fit and healthy. And he now has been able to get off 2 or 3 of those prescriptions. I think he's still on one, and his doctor's like, wow, I can't believe you did this. And it's like, yeah, I mean, shouldn't you
Mhm.
have thought about this? So,
Yeah. There need to be more clinical trials around lifestyle medicine to give it that authoritative validation that doctors want in order to promote and um, inform their patients. But
yeah,
in the meantime,
yeah, exactly. So tell us how you work with clients.
yeah, sure. I am starting a group coaching program. So I plan to offer personalized guidance, especially if people have any food allergies or known sensitivities already, to help them with the protocol and making adjustments that will really fit their family's needs.
Great.
This protocol that I became certified in has been used on thousands of people successfully as adults. But what I'm doing is I'm taking it and translating it into how can we apply this to families and for children.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, um, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so exciting. So, if anybody is having issues, struggling with their kids' behavior or
Mhm.
health, they can connect with you and see if they're a good fit for the program,
Yes.
or
Yep.
perhaps one-on-one too, or it's
Um,
mostly for the group right
it's
now.
mostly with the group right now. I think there'll be add-on sessions if someone wants more one-on-one support. But I really think like having that group of women
Yeah,
who are all going through the same thing will be so nourishing because it is such a lonely journey. Um, and I
yeah,
really want that. I really want that for anyone who is, venturing out into um, that realm. Yeah.
yeah, and it
And
is very paradigm shifting too, and that's always good to have a community when you're, you know,
Mhm.
sort of breaking out of a paradigm.
Exactly. Yeah. And from what I've seen, I haven't found anything like this out there. Like there's support groups for, parents struggling who have children with mental health struggles or physical health struggles. But to
Yeah,
find a supportive group going through changing their diet together, yeah, I haven't found anywhere else out there.
yeah, that's so true. Um, so what are some things that mothers or fathers or parent, what kinds of symptoms might they look for or be struggling with to be, a good
Mhm,
fit for this?
mhm. Yeah, I do have a whole symptom checklist that I would love to provide to anyone who wants to explore and consider this. I did base it off of the resource Cure Your Child with Food by Dr. Dorfman.
Mm,
And yeah, she goes into the digestive symptoms, like stomach pain, bloating, constipation, diarrhea. And she said that actually the digestive issues are when they're present is often because of dairy being an issue. But that the gluten sensitivity doesn't necessarily have digestive issues come up. And for those, there are the mood swings, irritability, um,
Mm,
sleep disturbances are the main things.
okay.
And yeah, there can be what I also found was um, like my child's symptoms really resemble pediatric bipolar. Um, and so I just also want to put a plug out there if anyone does have that diagnosis for their child. I want them to consider whether it could actually be a food sensitivity. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Is it too extreme to say like almost any diagnosis? You want to consider the diet as you're considering your treatment.
right,
Yeah.
right.
I would
It
say.
can't hurt. Like adopting a healthier diet, I mean,
Mm,
it's so worth it, I think, to explore and see, does this help us? Um, if, if someone doesn't really like the idea of being on medication,
right.
um, and wants an
Right.
alternative, like it's a great place to start. And it doesn't take finding an outside practitioner, which there are many great alternative practitioners and many different types of therapies people can do with their kids.
Mhm.
Um, but to start out and to find out what is our baseline when we eliminate highly processed foods and supplement with more veggies and more fruit and
Yeah,
um, healthy fats. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. Could help a
Mhm.
lot and it won't hurt.
Right.
It sounds like you're pretty, like you're not hard and fast about like having strict rules necessarily, but I mean, obviously it's up to the family, but, do you, do you recommend like eliminating any food groups whatsoever or any like substance like sugar? Would you be like,
Mhm.
no, that's just a no-no?
Mhm.
Asking for a friend.
Sure. Um, yeah, so the protocol, which actually does have a clinical trial backing its use, what
Okay.
is very strict, and it is a 20-day elimination diet. So
Okay.
it's really strict. What I'm going to be offering is a lighter version for families because I know that some of the restrictions aren't realistic, especially if you have food allergies and there's certain food groups like nuts or fish, things that are just completely off limits. Um, so I think the main things to avoid though are those things with ingredient lists that you don't know what those ingredients are that are it's just highly processed with these chemical um, food additives that enhance flavor and make it super enticing or make it last on the shelf a really long time. I feel
Mm,
like that's the best place to start.
yeah.
Um, and then in terms of sugar, sugar is so hard to avoid. Um, On the dietary protocol, we do eliminate all sugar except honey, maple syrup, and occasional coconut sugar.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so
All right. And that's not even as bad as the Whole 30 because they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They say no sugar, even natural sugar. I mean,
Uh-huh.
fruit's okay, but no like
Yeah,
added sugar.
yeah, yeah. So it makes, yeah, it makes, there's some options.
Little- Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this sounds awesome. This sounds
Thank
so
you.
good. Yeah, I'm just really appreciate you offering this resource to people. I think it's so, so needed, just to spread the awareness and have that perspective and that different approach other than
Mhm.
just the default is medication or supplementing even, like
Mhm.
let's look at what we're actually putting in our bodies right now and start there.
Yeah,
I think it's just brilliant.
thank
So
you. And I just want to kind of want to share, it's also, I'm motivated from an ancestral perspective, because I have a great grandmother who was diagnosed as bipolar. And I know sometimes these mental health challenges run in the family. And I really wonder if it's a gluten intolerance that has been passed down in the family.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, my great grandmother was hospitalized, removed. Her four children were young, and she was hospitalized and never saw her family again, and died
Oh,
10 years later in the hospital. So
God.
I know
Oh,
there's still hospitalizations happening all the time. And yeah, this is an option to explore. Like,
yeah. Wow,
yeah.
what a tragic story. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like, oh, she's guiding me. She's guiding me. She knows, like, this is what's going on. We're gonna get
absolutely.
the word out. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, oh my gosh. And even I feel there are obviously those kind of more extreme situations, but even like you said before, and I've noticed it too, like brain fog, and
Right.
feeling exhausted at the end of the day, fatigued or, you know,
Even joint
depressed.
pain. Right.
Yeah,
Feeling depressed, having no energy. Like, it can zap your energy. Um,
right. So definitely something to look into and explore
mhm.
for anybody, really. Yeah. Awesome, Sandra. Is there
Um,
anything else you wanted to share before we wrap it up here?
no, I think that's all. Um, yeah, just thank you for this opportunity to um, raise awareness and be heard. And
Yeah, anytime. My pleasure. It's brilliant, brilliant work that you're doing. So thank you again
thank
for being
you.
here and sharing and using your voice. I love it. And please send me over the symptom checklist so I
Sure.
can make sure to share that too.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.